Long before Eve ever tasted the fruit, before she got whispers beneath the tree of knowledge, there was another woman, Lilith. She was not made from Adam's rib. She was not shaped to be beneath him. She was created from the same earth, the same clay, equal, whole, and wild. When Adam opened his eyes for the first time and took his first breath, he found her sitting by the river that ran through Eden, her long black hair glistening like obsidian in the sunlight. Her skin glowed like warm bronze, her eyes sharp like the edge of a crescent moon. Her name was Lilith, and she was unlike anything Adam expected. In the beginning, they were curious about each other, walking through the endless garden, naming animals, swimming in pools of glowing water. They were meant to rule together, to understand the earth, to grow it. But paradise has rules, and Lilith hated rules. One night, Adam tried to assert himself. He claimed he was superior because he was created first. He demanded her obedience, saying, "Lie beneath me. That is your place." Lilith laughed, a laugh so loud that even the trees paused, a laugh that made the birds stop mid-flight. "I was made like you," she said, her voice like honey over thunder. "From the same dust, I bow to no man." When he tried to force her, Lilith fled into the dark. She ran to the edge of Eden and screamed the sacred name of God, a name so ancient and powerful it ripped open the sky. She crossed the veil and disappeared from the garden. She ran to the shores of the Red Sea, a place not yet tainted by blood. There, the spirits of the wild welcomed her, beasts that had no names, winds that blew with whispers of ancient knowledge, and creatures that had never seen the light of Eden. There, she met beings of shadow and flame, fallen watchers cast from heaven. One in particular, a spirit named Samael, saw her, and together they forged a bond deeper than flesh. It was Lilith's first taste of power outside of the garden's chains. When Lilith refused to return, God sent 3 angels, Senoi, Sansenoi, and Semangelov, to retrieve her. They found her dancing with flame, wearing a crown of night and speaking in tongues no human could hear. She refused their command. She would not return to Adam. She would not apologize. And so they cursed her. They said, "You will lose 100 of your children each day." Lilith, unbothered, looked them in the eyes and replied, "Then I will birth nations." She became the mother of many. Some say demons, some say forgotten tribes. Others say she was the true mother of witches. But Lilith wasn't done with Eden. Number. She returned, and when she found Eve, Adam's new companion, made from his rib, Lilith whispered truths to her. Truths about the fruit, about freedom, about power. "Why must you obey?" she whispered. "Why must you be less when you were made from his body and not the earth?" She tempted Eve not with rebellion, but with knowledge. And the rest, the priest will tell you, was Eve's sin. But those who truly know it was Lilith's revenge. But Eve listened. Lilith's voice was calm, not commanding like the voice of God. It was warm, knowing, and familiar. Lilith's presence shifted the entire garden. Her skin shimmered like dusk. Her eyes were as old as the stars. Eve gasped, "Who are you?" She smiled, revealing teeth sharpened not by hunger, but by wisdom. "You are not made to kneel. I am your reflection before the mirror was shattered. I am the first to question. I am the one they erased. I am Lilith." She brought out an apple and held it out. "This," Lilith said, "is not the fruit of sin. It is the fruit of sight. They call it forbidden because if you eat it, you will see the world, not as they tell it, but as it is." Eve's hands trembled as she took it. "But they said many things. They also said I was a serpent and a demon for saying no. They fear women who ask questions." Eve raised the apple to her lips. She bit. Suddenly the sky cracked open like glass. The ground hummed with energy. Eve's eyes widened as if she could now see every atom of creation, the roots beneath the garden, the emotions inside animals, the rage inside Adam, and the chains wrapped softly around her own ribs. She laughed, a rich, startled laugh. I see it, she whispered. I see it all. Thank you, Lilith. Then she broke the remaining half and took it to Adam. He hesitated, but Eve, glowing with insight, placed it in his hand. Trust me, she said, there is more than what we've been told. He ate, and in that moment, they knew they were naked, but not just physically, spiritually exposed, vulnerable, separate from the lie of innocence. As soon as the fruit was swallowed, the wind screamed through Eden, the rivers boiled, the animals scattered. A great tremor cracked the ground, and from the north rose the flaming sword, a spinning blade of light and memory that tore the garden in two. God's voice did not roar, it whispered, You have seen what you were not meant to. You must leave. Adam wept. Eve stood still. But Lilith smiled. It was never paradise. It was a prison covered in flowers. The three were cast out, Adam and Eve driven eastward. But Lilith, she disappeared into the void, into shadow, into legend. But she was not done. Far beyond Eden, in a cave carved from moonlight, Lilith began a true work. She knew the power of names. That's why they tried to erase hers. Why the priests struck her from the scrolls. Why they called her a serpent, demon, monster, seductress. Names are spells, she said. So I shall reclaim mine. Lilith began to send dreams into the minds of daughters across time. Girls, women, healers, slaves, queens. Those who heard her whisper would wake and write her name in secret on stones, paper, walls, and skin. Her name began to echo again, in silence, in rebellion, in blood. She declared war, not with swords, but with memory. When 1,000 firstborn daughters speak my name, I will return, she vowed. Not as mate, but as mother of all who dare to ask why. After being cast out of Eden, Adam and Eve lived in a world that was raw, wild, and unfamiliar. The ground did not obey them like it had in the garden. Hunger became a daily ache. They built shelters, learned fire, and mourned the loss of paradise. But they were not alone. Lilith's whispers continued to reach Eve in dreams. Though the voice of God was silent, Eve began hearing earth speak, wind respond, and stars blink messages into the sky. She passed this knowing down to her daughters, even as Adam tried to cling to the old order. Years passed. Eve bore many children, but something haunted her. Every time she looked at Adam, she saw a lie behind his smile. One night, she followed him deep into the hills. There, buried beneath a pile of stones, was a scroll wrapped in animal skin. Eve pulled it out and read by moonlight. It was a prayer, but not to God. It was to erase a woman's name. Let her be forgotten. Let no woman remember she once said no. Let her be known as a serpent and a demon if it keeps me king. Eve dropped the scroll. Her heart pounded. Adam had asked God to remove Lilith, to strip her name from memory, to seal the story with shame and silence. Eve now saw him not as a partner, but as the forced silencer. She took the scroll and returned home. But she did not tell him what she found. She wrote Lilith's name in her own blood. One day, a storm swept across the earth. Eve returned to Eden's edge alone, searching for answers beyond anger. There, among the shattered remains, she found 3 trees, not one. Not the tree of life, not just the tree of knowledge, but a third, the tree of fire. Its bark was black and pulsing. Its fruit glowed red like coals. She touched its roots and collapsed into vision. She saw a God not of punishment, but of grief. The heavens in chaos, debating free will. Lilith, standing before a council of angels, demanding justice, and a prophecy that one day a child born of both Lilith and Eve's bloodline would bring the final balance between divine order and human freedom. Eve awoke, weeping. She now knew her role, not as a mistake, but as a bridge. She and Lilith were not enemies. They were two halves of the same flame. In the years that followed, Adam and Eve had many children, too many to name. The scrolls only recorded the famous ones, but there were daughters who shaped rivers, sons who built hidden cities, and twins who could speak to stars. One daughter, born during the crimson eclipse, was named Awan. She did not cry when born. Her eyes glowed, and on her shoulder was a strange spiral mark, almost like a flame etched in her skin. Eve recognized it instantly. It was the same symbol Lilith wore around her neck. She told no one, not even Adam. Instead, she raised Awan quietly, teaching her stories that no one else heard, of balance, of strength, of the name that was erased. Among their many sons were Cain and Abel. Cain, the firstborn, had hands stained with soil, a farmer, a tiller, a tinker. But inside him burned storms he couldn't name. He heard whispers at night, one voice in particular, a woman's voice, warm, firm, and ancient, Lilith. She whispered not hatred, but questions. Why must you offer what you sweat for, when your brother gives what follows him like sheep? Why must your worship be weighed and compared like coins? Do you not see how they favor obedience over depth? And so the first seed of rebellion bloomed. Abel was the second son, gentle, beloved, and always singing. His offering pleased the heavens. Cain's did not. The fire of approval fell on Abel's altar, and Cain stood in the smoke of his own confusion. In a field one morning they argued, though no one heard the words. Only the sky watched as Cain struck his brother down. Blood soaked the ground. The earth screamed. But Lilith did not flinch. She whispered again, one sacrifice ends, another begins. Cain fled into the wilderness, marked and cast to wander. But in the shadows beyond the mountains, Awan waited for him. She saw his mark and did not fear. She knew it. She carried the same bloodline. Brother and sister, bound not only by flesh, but by Lilith's legacy, became partners. Some scrolls call this wicked, but the fire they boast was not of lust. It was of continuation. Together, they built a city hidden from the eyes of their king, a place of thinkers, builders, watchers. Awan taught dreams. Cain taught survival. Their children were strange and brilliant and carried Lilith's symbol branded in their palms. Eve lived for over 800 years. She watched empires rise and fall. She saw grandchildren who no longer remembered Eden, but she remained a guardian of memory. In her final days, she walked alone to a mountain, where she once saw a flame rise into the sky, the very place where Lilith first whispered to her. There, a red bird landed on her shoulder. Its feathers glowed faintly. She smiled, her silver hair blowing in the wind. She's coming, she whispered. The fire will not be forgotten. That night, surrounded by daughters and granddaughters, she placed a small stone marked with Lilith's spiral in the hands of her youngest descendant. You will remember both of us, she said. Then she closed her eyes under the stars and never woke again. Her body was wrapped in red silk and buried beside the tree of fire. Adam did not die in the same way. He grew distant in old age, often silent, his eyes always searching the sky. He told Seth, one of his later sons, I did not fear disobedience. I feared power I could not hold. I asked for Lilith to be removed, not because she was wrong, but because she was uncontainable. When Adam died, they found him called on the same soil he was formed from. But beneath his bed, there was a scroll written in a trembling hand. I silenced the name that never left me, and I see now she was the first to live. They buried Adam and Eve near the edge of Eden. From their graves grew two trees, one with white blossoms, another with dark red petals. They never touched above ground, but their roots intertwined beneath the earth. Lilith's legacy was not forgotten. Her daughters and sons had waited in silence, carrying stories in whispers, in marks, in dreams. Now, one by one, they began to awaken, reclaiming their birthright. The age of forgetting was ending. The age of fire had begun. Thank you so much for watching this story. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking and thrilling tales. This was a fictional narrative inspired by ancient myths and creative imagination. More powerful stories are coming your way, so stay tuned and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a drop. We remain Delia Storytime on all platforms. See you in the next story. Bye for now.